All right guys, welcome to Real Deal EV. So today we're going to be going over how to replace the rear door handle on a Tesla Model S. Now you may be thinking, wait a second, I thought you already did a video on this. And you're correct. But I didn't include a lot of things because I was trying to get the job done. This customer dropped it off and said you can have the car as long as you want. So I decided I'd do a good video. I got a new microphone, I have a new camera, and I have new experience and details to show you how to do it the quickest way possible with the minimal amount of parts possible. So the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously confirm the door handle is not working. And what you can do is you can put your ear up to the door handle and you can hear it right now. It's constantly spinning the motor trying to present that rear door handle. It's the problem with this one, the rear door handle. But you can hear the motor spinning and it's trying to push it out. And that usually means that it's a broken motor gear or the broken paddle gear. Now this is an older car, and so it should have the older like 2.0, 2.5 handles, which you're gonna need to check, which I'll show you that here in a second. With these older handles, it's typically the paddle gear. With the newer Gen 3 handles, it's typically the motor. They can do all sorts of funky things, but if you're fortunate enough to have an older vehicle, hopefully it has the older door handles because they're much easier for you to work on. They're DIY friendly. I'll show you what it does. So basically walk up to the car, press these front two present, the back two do not present. I'm gonna open up the car. You gotta reach around, open the door from the inside, and now you have access. So the back two door handles both don't work. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do, before you even get this far, so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna get into service mode. So you're gonna hit the car, you're gonna go to software, hold down on the car until it pops up with service. Enter, and then from here you're going to go into door handle calibration. And so this is what it's going to tell you. Front door handle 2.0, 2.5. That's good for us. Same for the rear, same for the other rear. Front passenger, not good. See how that says it's a Gen 3.0? So that means it's got the newer door handle put in there. So Tesla had repaired it at some point and put the new Gen 3 handle in it. That's bad because they're a lot harder to diagnose and troubleshoot. We can basically fix these other three. There's some things that we can do for the 3 handle, but we're not going to focus on that now. We're focused on the older door handle, the 2.0 and the 2.5. So that's the first thing you want to confirm before you get into this job. You pull the door panel off and you say, oh crap, now it's a Gen 3 handle. Okay, so for this one, what you're going to need, you got yourself a T30 Torx, a small pick, just like that, with a little 90 degree and a 10 millimeter. What you're going to do, pull this handle, remove this little cover. That's going to give you access to the 2 Torx inside of here. Next thing you're going to do with your pick, come up here and you're going to grab onto this little piece of rubber. You just pull this thing out. There we go. All right, so now we got both of those removed, your rubber piece and your plastic cover. So the next thing you're going to do is remove the 2 Torx. Then remove your single 10 millimeter bolt. All right, from this point, now this panel is ready to be removed. So what you're gonna wanna do, hold it with your knee, and then you're gonna grab it, and you're just gonna basically pull it straight back. Just like that. So a clip fell, I'll show you that here in a second. But what you gotta do is make sure you don't pull it too far because you got all your wiring connected back here. So let's bring that around. Hopefully that's a good view. So you got all your wiring, and you want to be careful that you don't end up knocking these clips into the speaker. And then another thing you do, you don't want to let it just hang because it'll end up rubbing the inside of this door. Okay, so from here, you're going to start removing things. And don't worry about the orientation, they only go on one way. So here is the door handle, here's the door light. And then all I'm doing on these is just using my thumb, pushing down on the clip, and then pulling it straight out with the wire. Now, make sure you're not pulling hard on the wire because if it doesn't unclip, you'll pull the wire right out of the housing. All right, so there's that one. Next one is your window switch. This one, you're kind of using your fingertip to release the detent on that. Next thing, the light on the bottom, the puddle light. Again, I'm using my thumbnail. That one's out. And now this one just detaches, just pulls apart from each other, just like that. So now that's everything disconnected. So now we can get this panel out of the way. All right, so from this point, I'm gonna do a couple other things that make it a little bit easier to work later on. So I'm gonna remove this trim. This one just pulls straight up and out of the way. So we're gonna get that one out of here. And then we're gonna come around and roll this chrome. Well, it's normally chrome. I think this guy, it looks like he painted it. So you're gonna take this one and you're gonna kind of roll it up and out. All right, so that one's out of there. So what that does, it allows for, okay, and then this little one, we'll pull this little guy too. So what this does, it allows for a lot more flexibility of this glass. See how much play we have now? And the reason we want play is because we're trying to get inside of this area right here. So you can see right here, here's one of the bolts. So this is the furthest aft bolt, the furthest back. So that's the other bolt right there. That's the one that people always have the hardest time getting to. They send me emails saying, how do you get this? How do you get to that bolt? All right, so now at this point, I'm going to remove this cover off. So this one's already, I can already tell it's gonna be pretty brittle. I don't think it's ever came off before. So pull this guy off. Yeah, you can kind of see it's just literally crumbling apart, unfortunately. You can see, sometimes you'll discover this. So this is the cover to the door handle down inside the door panel itself. So this cover goes over the back of the door handle. I'm gonna set these both off to the side. We have this nut right here. Then you have a nut up here that we can't see. We have this nut, which you can see. And then there's another nut right here that you can't see. The easiest way to go about getting to some of these is this one obviously is easy. This one's obvious easy. And then this one, I'll use a small little wrench. So I'll go after that one now. So all I do is just a regular 10 mil with a regular old school ratchet. Put it in loosen mode, lefty loosey. And so from this point, let me go ahead and show you where it's at. So I'm gonna go inside the door, right back there. Let me get a light. There we go. All right, so that's the nut that we're going for right there. So once you get it loose, you can just roll your finger on it and then let it drop down on the bottom of the door. No, you don't want to let it drop down. You can. Now I got to get a magnet. Got it. All right, the next thing I wanted to show you before I get the last 3 nuts out of there is you can see the gear in there spinning. See that gear spinning right there? So that's trying to push out to that paddle gear, which you can see the paddle gear right above it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put it out of its misery so it stops spinning. So what I'm gonna do, pull this green clip right here out. I like to try to pull it out all together. Sometimes it takes a little extra force from something like that. And then from this point, I'm gonna disconnect the door handle. So this one, let me turn it around for you. So you can see there, press that with your thumb, and then just disconnect it. So now it'll be quiet. And the reason I did that to that Christmas tree clip, and you can see it kind of destroys it, but I found that it's really hard if you take it and disconnect it from this white clip from this black clip. It's really hard to get this back aligned because it's hidden back behind there. So it's just easier to take the whole assembly out of there and it goes back in. All right, now we'll focus on getting these other 3 out. So this one obviously is really easy. We're gonna go ahead and do that one. There we go, there's that one. All right, so from this point, I want this window to go up a little bit higher to give me more access. So what I'm gonna do is come over here and just latch this door closed. So you're gonna have your door latched all the way closed, and that will get the window up and out of the way to give you access to that bolt hole. This one's kind of funky because you kind of gotta come in at a weird angle. So I'm gonna try to allow you to see it here. All right, there we go. So you're gonna see I'm gonna come through. There's my socket. Now I do have a small swivel on this socket and you kind of need it. Now what I usually will do is take my other hand, except I'm holding this piece of trim back for you here. What I'll usually do is take my other hand to move my socket over onto it. Okay, I got it on. I think I was watching through the camera. Okay, so there's number 3. Now don't drop this. Don't drop this one. I didn't even get to say it. But luckily it's right there. So look, can you see it? That's where it usually will fall. Right there. And it'll just sit down there. Pick her up. So now this is the last one, but before I remove that, I want to disconnect the wiring harness. All right, so this is the clip. This is the wiring harness. This is one of the clips. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your thumb and you're gonna pull it straight down. There's one. And the other one you're gonna push towards the front of the car. There we go. This wire harness is loose. And I just remembered that this gentleman actually has these handles painted. And so what I wanna do is actually cover the covers up. And I wanna put tape on this. This is a lot easier to do with it recessed like this. All right, get that covered up. All right, so now that's protected. Okay, so now this bolt is gonna come out and then the whole handle is ready to come out. Okay, so now from this point, this handle is ready to come out. And so what you're gonna wanna do is kind of grab it, pull it straight out. Okay, so now I have the whole handle. So now what I want to try to do is actually go past the handle. Oh no, I might screw myself because I have this light in here trying to show you guys. So you're going to go past the handle, turn it sideways, and you're going to pull it out this direction, just like this. So there you have it. There's your door handle. And as we can probably assume, the paddle gear is broken. So what I'm going to do, take it over to the workbench, pull this motor off, pull the paddle gear out of there, and rebuild this whole thing. Come back, slap her back in. So now that I got it on the bench, we can remove these 3 T27 Torx screws. Then you're going to take a set of side cutters, or dikes if you will, and cut off all the zip ties. This is going to hold the wiring for the switch for the motor itself. So get all those zip ties out of there, unhook that motor, and then you can pull that motor right out. The next thing you're going to do is take a T8 and remove this small little screw that holds the micro switch. And there's your broken paddle gear. That's the culprit right there. So after you get the paddle gear out of there, now you're going to pull that little C-clip out, and that's going to release this shaft. You're going to use whatever you have to push this shaft back through, and you're going to pull it all the way out. Now you have live springs on the backside, and what I did is use that shaft to push that pin out right there. Forgot I did that little video part. So here now I'm pulling out the live springs. I say live because they're unsprung springs. Now you're going to take that same T8 and you're going to pull out the screw that holds that micro switch on that side. Now you got that one on that side. Now you're going to get your new micro switch from Real Deal EV. And you're going to install that. So the left one's going to be the one with the metal piece and the coarse screw. Again, the coarse screw goes on the left. You're just going to make sure that it goes in and that there's a little pin that goes into the detent on that handle itself. So this is the fine screw that's going to go on the right side, and there's no metal arm on that side. So now you just plug in your micro switch. Make sure you get your wiring all set up nice. There's your paddle gear. There's the culprit. So get that from realdealev.com, baby. And then you're going to remove those little 2 pieces, those little bushings, so that it makes room for the paddle gear to go in there. There's already 2 bushings already in there. So now you're going to slide it in place. You can see it's a little tight, but that's why you don't need those other bushings. So now you're going to tighten up that T8 screw. And now you're going to push that shaft right back in. I want to put that spring in place. Slide it in. The silver spring's on the left, black spring's on the right. Once you get it pushed all the way through, you're going to take the C-clip, you're going to insert it right in the middle. There's an opening, and then you're going to take that spring arm and push it around so that it goes into the handle arm and clips in place. So there we go. Now I thought I was done here. I started messing with all the wiring, put the motor back in. Just got to make sure that you don't pinch any of the wiring as you're putting the motor down. Then you're going to take those T27 Torx screws, put those back in. I haven't plugged in the motor yet. So once you get those 3 in, you're going to check your wiring, make sure it's all out of the way. This all has to stay really tight. There, I plugged the motor in. And so I'm thinking this looks kind of funky. It's not operating very smoothly. And that's because I was missing that bushing right there, that pin. So there's the pin. So that was the last one, those 2 pins. So put that pin back in place, and now it's good to go. Next thing you're going to do is take your zip ties and just start bundling everything up. So you're going to tie it to the frame of the handle and then tie the wires to the other wires, just like how you took it off. I like to use these really small zip ties for these. It makes it nice and flush. And again, you're keeping everything super tight because when you put it back in, the window is really close. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, bring the door handle over here as it is, and then I'm going to plug it in and see if it works. So, plug it in right here. Okay, car is locked, door handle's in. So we're going to get the key fob and we're going to unlock the car. Okay, so what happened there was the handle presented, and it presented too far that it actually engaged this second micro switch on this side and opened the door up. What I need to do is trick the door, latch it back closed, and then lock the door. All right, so now the door is shut, door handle is in, and so now we're going to take, there's a small Torx bit over here that we're going to go ahead and just push it out further so that way it stops. Because basically what will happen is we're going to present this door handle out and we want it to stop right here. Because if we don't stop too far, or if we don't stop it right here, it's going to push out the rest of the way and engage the second micro switch. And this second micro switch is what tells the door to open up. So all we got to do is stop it a little bit earlier, but it's best to diagnose this now before you get it inside the door and then have to pull it back out. So whenever you're ready to put the door handle back in, test it just like this. Okay, so this is a T8 Torx, and all I'm going to do is reverse this out just a little bit. Okay, let's try that now. So now car door is locked, so we're going to unlock the car. And so now it didn't engage that. The door is locked still, and we still have a decent amount of play before it hits the micro switch. I am going to actually go ahead and put a little bit more in there though. So now we'll lock the car again. I'm going to go another couple turns. That was one whole revolution. So now let's unlock the car. There's a little bit more of a gap there. Okay, we're good. So we'll lock it again. That way your handle is brought in. Now disconnect it. All right, you always want to mess with it in the in position. All right, from this point, we're going to go ahead and slide this handle back into the car door. So like this. Now it's kind of a little balancing act. You're going to kind of balance it like this. Now you're going to rotate it. So hopefully you got good finger dexterity here. Slide it up in there. I don't know what that was. So now I'm just aligning it back here. up onto this rear stud. Oh, I see. They put a little spacer in there. I've never seen that. This car must have had a problem with it aligning the door handles before. Yeah, so there's a spacer right here that must have been on that door handle. I can see it. It's rusty. I'm going to put it back on there. I've never seen that from Tesla. So maybe somebody else was messing with it. Or maybe this is just an old Tesla thing. I just never seen that. All right, so now I'm putting the nut on there. I'm just going to put 2 nuts. Because then I'm going to work on aligning the door handle, which we'll do next. So I'm not getting them tight. I actually did a little too tight there. I want to leave them nice and loose because now the next step is going to be over here. All right, from here, I'm going to put in my alignment tool. This is just basically 2 credit cards. So just like that, all this will do is bring up the door handle. So Tesla has a whole big fancy tool. I don't know if they even use it. You're going to put this in there, and then you're going to make sure that it's centered in the door. And you want it to be up a little bit higher because what it'll do is when the door handle presents, it goes out and down. So that way you don't want it to rub on the bottom of this door handle. So right now it's centered and up. So I can go ahead and tighten those up on the back side, and you'll see it pull the door handle in. All right, so how does our alignment look there? So that's pretty good. So now from this point, the window is in the up position. So we're gonna go through here, and I'm gonna watch through my little peephole on the side here. Okay, that one's tight. So now the last one is the one that's down here. So now what I'm doing is I'm looking through this top little kind of peephole area and threading it on. Okay, so now all 4 nuts are tightened up on the door handle itself. So now the next thing I'm going to do, cover this up. So I want to hook the wiring harness back up. So we got our wiring harness hanging out down here. So we're going to get that hooked up. Plug it in through here. Now, if you remember correctly, I'm going to hook up those wiring clips right there. And the other one clips on this side. So that's clipped on. That makes that wire out of the way. Okay, so wrapping this thing back up. So we want to put this cover back on. There's double stick tape and a clip. There's a clip. And then just push the tape back onto it. Next thing, you're going to take this piece of trim, slide it down. Put this chrome trim on. Well, black trim on this car. This is going to go back on right here. Sometimes these go on good, sometimes they don't. All this is aluminum tape. You just don't want to cover up any of your holes there. All right, from this point, we're just going to hook all of our wiring back up. Again, it all lays in one orientation, so it only goes to one area. So it's pretty easy to figure out. Like right there, I just put the wrong one in the wrong spot. You'll find out pretty quick. All right, that's everything except for the window. Here's the window. Okay, we are ready to go back on. There's a couple of guide pins that help you get into the somewhat right location. So all I'm doing now is just making sure it's about pushed in right where it's supposed to be. So now I go with the top first, and you're just going to give it some good wax. So there's the top. Okay, so all the clips are holding it in place there. So now the next thing we're going to do is put this 10 millimeter So there's that 110. Now the next thing we're gonna do is put our rubber piece in here. So it goes like this, so the 2 tabs and 1 tab. So you're gonna basically put it in just like this. And then your plastic one, it's gonna go in just like this direction. Now this one actually has some of the clips already missing on the back side of it. Just like that. So it presents. Let's lock it. So there we go. Works as designed. Thanks for watching.